Hey everybody, this is our first English Language Arts flip video of the year, and it might be a little bit long. It might actually be a 2-day video, so just prepare yourself for that. Because we have a lot of stuff to cover in here. We're going to be talking about writing a personal narrative, which is our first writing assignment of the year. So I want to make sure I'm really clear on what I expect and that I give you guys an opportunity to ask questions if you need to throughout the week. So go ahead and get your notes out, get ready, and make sure that you take note of things that you want to ask me about in class, because we will be spending a lot of time talking about this in class in the next 3 weeks. Okay, so writing a personal narrative, obviously we want to write a story that people want to read. So we're going to talk about how to accomplish that today. So, what is a narrative? What is a personal narrative? A narrative is just a story, okay? The exact definition is it is a spoken or written account of connected events, but it's just a story. So a personal narrative is a story about something that happened to you personally. So it's a story about your life, usually about something important to you or something that has some sort of special meaning. Okay, so the structure of a narrative, you've seen this. You'll hear it called lots of different things, and I actually put this graphic on the PowerPoint for that reason. Sometimes people will call the plot triangle or the plot diagram Freytag's triangle, and they call it that when they leave out sort of that strip of of resolution. They just say it ends with a point, right? So we know that we always have a beginning moment, an incentive moment, some kind of complication, rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the end or the resolution. That's the structure of a narrative, and we will have that structure in your personal narratives that you're writing in class as well. Okay. The characteristics of a personal narrative, and these are very important. I want you to make sure that you are taking note of these 6 characteristics, and that when you're writing, you're thinking about how you're going to accomplish those 6 characteristics in your own writing. Okay. First, they focus on a small moment. A personal narrative is not the story of your life. It's a story about part of your life, a moment in your life that is in some way important. They set the scene using vivid language. So the word vivid means lively. So we're going to have language that comes to life, okay? And we'll talk about how we do that later in the PowerPoint and, of course, during class over the next couple of weeks. They introduce characters. So there might just be one character, or there might be several characters most of the time. If we have a small, important moment in our lives, we weren't just alone taking part in that moment. There are characters who in some way influence that moment. Has to catch the reader's attention. We've all read stories or heard our friends or our parents tell stories that did not catch our attention, and we were thinking, when am I going to hear something that I want to hear about? We don't want our personal narratives to be like that. We want our personal narratives to grab our attention and grab the reader's attention so that readers want to continue to read. Provides a detailed retelling of that small moment, and it concludes meaningfully. This is very important, guys. We don't want our personal narratives to have this beautiful story, tell us all these things, and then just fall off and have like a really pitiful ending. So we're going to talk about how to really end meaningfully and not just stop telling a story. Okay, so there are 8 things to remember when we're writing a story. The first thing is that your story needs a strong beginning. Okay, so you can do that through dialogue, asking a question, giving a vivid description, giving an interesting fact about your subject area, or using sound effects. So we're going to play around with each of those while we're writing during class, so that we can decide which one really fits our own writing the best. Okay. So here are some examples. A question. You could start your story by saying, have you ever had a day when you wish you had stayed home in bed? As I rushed to catch the bus on what seemed to be a perfectly normal day, I had no idea what was ahead of me. A vivid description. The sun was warm on my back as I raced toward the waiting yellow school bus. As I nestled in the worn leather seat, I was greeted by the friendly voices of other excited children. The look on my face was one of confidence and commitment. With a jerk, the bus rumbled down the road, and I was on my way into one of the worst days of my life. Dialogue. It's a conversation, right? "Hurry, or you'll be late," called my mother from the bottom of the stairs. "Today of all days, you want to be on time." If I had only known what the day would bring, I would have stayed in the bed. An interesting fact. Shock has been known to kill 10-year-olds. It can cause their brains to explode and their hearts to stop. These facts raced through my mind as I stood dumbfounded in front of my classmates. I wish I had stayed in bed. Sound effects. Buzz! The sound of my alarm clock droned in my ears as I struggled to wake. With a start, I sat straight up in my bed. This was my big day, and I had to be on time. So, as you can see, before we move on to number 2, each of those was a specific way that you could start the same story, right? So you want to think about which way best starts your story that you want to tell. Number 2, be sure your story has paragraphs. They tell you when you're switching time, place, topic, or speaker. How do I know when to start a new paragraph? When you start a new topic, when you skip to a new time, when you skip to a new place, when a person begins speaking, or when you want to produce a dramatic effect. Number 3, capitalization and punctuation matter. Those will be our focus grammar concepts during this writing assignment, so we're going to make sure we do them right. Number 4, use rich words. We're going to look at these 2 websites that get rid of boring words and help us find good descriptive words. And we're especially going to look at our verbs. We're going to try to get rid of boring verbs and start using some fun, specific language. Number 5, show, don't tell. This is a method for telling the reader what's happening in a very dramatic and specific way. It creates a picture in their mind. Instead of just saying, "I ran to the door," we're going to show them what it was like as you were running to the door. We're going to watch this video in class called Exploding the Moment. Number 6, add conversations. Conversations require the use of quotation marks. We're going to talk about dialogue the day that we watch this video in class, okay? Number 7, figurative language. Hopefully in your other language arts courses, you've heard these words before. You've heard about similes and metaphors and alliteration and onomatopoeia. We're going to try to incorporate all 4 of those into our writing. So a simile, a comparison of 2 unlike things. A metaphor, a comparison of 2 unlike. Simile uses like or as. Metaphor does not use like or as. Alliteration is the repetition of the initial consonant sounds. So, those beginning consonant sounds in 2 or more neighboring words or syllables. And onomatopoeia is the imitation of a natural sound in word form, like the word buzz. Number 8, you're going to finish strong. Okay, so we can see here some examples of strong narrative endings. A circular ending, a surprise ending, a lesson or a moral. So you see all of these here. I want you to pause the video and take notes on each of these kinds of endings. And as we're writing and finishing up our stories, we're going to decide which one works best for us. So, what's next? In class on Friday, we're going to start writing your personal narratives. So between now and then, we're going to be working on making sure that we have chosen a very specific moment in your life and that you're ready to start drafting it. We're also going to look at some pictures and think about how we can use those pictures to explode the moment in our lives. And we're going to make sure that when we start writing on Friday, that we're certain that the story we want to tell is already in our heads and we just need to get it on paper. Okay, so start thinking about those moments in your life, those really key, important things that have happened to you and how you would like to tell those stories. See you in your class.